Joshua, it sounds to me like the judge just struck a question of the prosecution because she was talking about morphine, and this is a fentanyl case. What do you think are the problems that are going on here with the prosecution presenting this witness? There's been objections, they've been sustained.
Yeah, she's getting a little hamstrung here by both the judge and the defense. I think what this is, what the wrangling is about, is they don't want the prosecution asking questions of this expert witness that lead to that kind of ultimate question of fact. So if she's going to start giving questions that give answers that are, no, I would never do this because that would kill someone, or that would be something that I would never practice because it's dangerous. That's really a question for the jurors. That's what I believe this wrangling is that's taking place here, that we're witnessing, and why it's so important. It's just so funny to me. This trial really is going to become a trial of experts, right? All of this, there's no eyewitness that's important to, who did what, when, and where. This is all about experts testifying as to what would be reasonable behavior under these circumstances and what would not be.
And defense is not giving up the fact that the patients were killed by any of the drugs. In fact, I think they only had they talked about one autopsy report or two yesterday, causes of death or certificates of death, and one of them had carfentanil in it, the elephant fentanyl type thing. So they're not even giving that up. So do you think the prosecution is going to get to that with this witness?
I imagine so. I imagine what we're going to see here is just a string of witnesses by the prosecution that are going to testify to that same idea, that this is not reasonable. The way that this doctor was behaving under these circumstances is outside of the bounds of medical reasonableness. The other problem I think that the prosecution is going to run into is that the more I'm hearing about this, it sounds like the practice of medicine in these types of cases is more of an art than a science, and that there can be a lot of different approaches by reasonable and acceptable medical professionals on how to handle a situation when dealing with folks who are kind of transitioning into death. And so the defense is going to make the argument, well, why can't our doctor just be an outlier, but still fall within that reasonable kind of practice of the art of medicine in dealing with folks who are, soon to be passing into death?
Yeah, and I heard a couple of commentators in different networks say, well, the drugs administered were higher than that was allowed at the hospital, which is, of course, not the case. The standards were not imposed until after this all went down, so there were no standards. Anyhow, we're going to take a quick break here.